If we use our common sense, the link is totally clear between the chemtrails and the aluminum content in the air and the diseases, mainly of children. When babies are born, they do not have a blood-brain barrier, any protection. The inhaled aluminum ends up directly in the brain, and is one of the main reasons for the whole neurological problems we see with kids. The number of children with neurological problems is rising exponentially, in a clear correlation with the spraying in the sky. There is a lot of circumstantial evidence, but it would be relatively cheap if any government agency just flew behind the planes and collected the air. But so far, it is left to individuals like us to spend their own resources on providing the evidence, and that's a scandal. We do not have the slightest indications that chemtrails are real. There are only statements based on fact. For me, as a scientist, it is important to measure, and the only measurement that is relevant for me is the assessment of human beings. How can we show that all of us are being poisoned by aluminum and are being poisoned every day? So we experience difficulties, first in the USA. Many laboratories received letters from the FDA telling them not to test for aluminum anymore. This was already an indication. It happened 3 to 4 years ago. And then the aluminum, which we breathe in, is nano-sized, which means that these are tiny particles, which cannot be measured with ordinary laboratory methods. And therefore, we didn't realize the severity for a long time. Because of the limited laboratory methods, it didn't show up in hair analyses, or in blood or serum analyses, until we came across a new method called apheresis. Apheresis is a blood cleaning method whereby all the blood is led through a filter system, and all pollutants in the blood are filtered out. And when nano-sized particles get close to the filter, they contract and form lumps, and can then be shown with ordinary measurement methods. Well, what we have found, we have sent over 200 patients overseas from the US, is that the aluminum content, namely the total physical stress from aluminum, is 100 times larger than from all other metals.
Das mehr als das 100-fache höher ist als das von allen anderen Metallen.
Why in the world are they spraying? Michael Murphy.
My first real stop for the film was in Mount Shasta, and Mount Shasta is in Northern California, and it's far removed from any industry, so literally there should be very little metal. Although aluminum is very abundant in the earth, it is not supposed to be an element in free form. So what they had found, for instance, Mount Shasta, which normally should have about 7 parts per billion of aluminum, they found 61,100 parts per billion aluminum. And that's thousands of times higher than normal amounts.
It's no proof that the aluminum comes from this jet contrails. What can you say about that?
Well, you know, I beg to differ. I believe that it does prove. If there's a helicopter 30 feet above your house and they're dumping something out that's falling on your house, and you test that substance and you find out that it's very toxic, I mean, how could somebody deny really what's going on? So, yeah. And if it didn't come from the aerosol spraying, where did it come from? So far, nobody has been able to prove that they've come from anywhere else.
But what it looked like was just like cotton candy.
More Jones.
It's quite, it goes quite hard, if that makes sense. And if you listen to it, it rips. It's got a Velcro sort of a sound to it.
They come in nanoparticles, and those particles make up what they call an array, meaning they go in a straight line, and they connect.
Biological weapons.
La Côte d'Azur,
Population
sun,
control.
beach, and holidays. But not for me. I followed up on a phone call from a French-Italian activist.
It's all over France as well.
I think it is the duty of the authorities to give us answers, because we are doing the job that should be done by the authorities. We have the common people paying for analyses, while the authorities should be doing it, and should be giving us answers.
But they are.
So far we have analyses from the rain, from the soil, but how to make the link to the plains? Therefore, what Bernhard gives us is exceptional. My name is Bernhard Tellez. I'm now a 70-year-old man, and I'm specialized in inorganic chemistry. In 1991, I created this company called Analytica with the hope of doing something for the protection of our environment. At the end of last year, in 2012, I received a call from a lady by the name of Evelyn Dumas, who lives in the center of France. And she told me an incredible story of filaments falling from the sky. I was a little surprised and doubtful, but I said yes. If you send me the filaments in sufficient quantity, I can try to analyze them. And the whole adventure began.
Biological weapons.
This is one of the first filament samples from Miss Dumas in the center of France. This is from the northeast of France, from a certain Mrs. Duclaude, with whom Mrs. Dumas communicated over the internet. This here is from the Lumkin family, from another corner of France. And this here is from Mrs. Laxonaire, not far from here on the coast. After a month, I realized that the problem is serious. 4 different people from 4 different corners of France talking about the same thing, and who send me samples which seem very similar. I analyzed these 4 samples. I wrote a report that was, in my opinion, very profound, substantial, and precise. I still have some samples, and I'm willing to share them with my peers. I discovered that all contained a category of compounds known as phthalates.
Phthalates.
Today, 80% of all plasticizers used worldwide to produce PVC are phthalates. This big family of chemical compounds is divided into 3 major groups that differ in the length of the molecular chain, each with its own function. Phthalates with a very short molecular chain are typically used as solvents, whereas the others are used as plasticizers. Long phthalates are not harmful chemical substances and can be safely utilized. Short phthalates are classified as toxic to reproduction, and its reutilization is strictly controlled.
Toxic to reproduction.
Phthalates do not dissolve. They fall from the sky on the ground, where they should not be. Not at all. You have to imagine, whole of France is covered with these filaments. So it is not negligible at all. We now know what is inside. We have known about the issue of aluminum and barium occurrence for a long time. Here the inorganic chemistry shows that there are still other pollutants. There is a problem. There is a problem.
Covert
The actual
terrorism.
work is much more serious than we'd like to admit, because it indicates that the general population is subject to this. There are a host of serious health issues that are implicated most directly with the research. And the research is indicating an exact match and correspondence between the nature of the physical materials I'm speaking of, in particular the filament material that I spoke of earlier, an exact match between that environmental type sample and samples which come from the human body as well as cultures. The agents that I'm seeing unfortunately, have literally created a condition that is being classified as a new condition of ill health. The term of Morgellons is used for it.
GMOs.
My name is Roswetta.
Climate engineering, geoengineering, solar radiation management programs are an absolutely undeniable reality. The ongoing illegal climate intervention operations are decimating the biosphere. This includes further fueling catastrophic forest fires all over the globe. Those who ignore or deny what they can see with their own eyes, the profoundly altered aerosol-sprayed skies, grid-patterned skies on some days, with nothing on other days, are turning two blind eyes to the immense and ongoing climate engineering threat. Jet aircraft spray dispersions are often seen being turned on and off, which countless film captures prove is occurring in skies all over the world. We're not seeing condensation trails. Jet engines are not being turned on and off. We're seeing intentionally sprayed aerosol dispersions that are a primary aspect of geoengineering and solar radiation management. If jet aircraft are being used, in fact, for geoengineering and solar radiation management aerosol spraying operations, they must have nozzles, and indeed, they do. In addition to military tankers, commercial aircraft are being utilized in the ongoing geoengineering operations, though commercial carrier personnel do not appear to be in any way involved. Why aren't the climate scientists, like those in the National Weather Service and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administrations, speaking out? In addition to having no First Amendment protection, there is now an illegal federal gag order on all National Weather Service and all NOAA employees. Climate engineering programs are